Hey everyone, it's time for an April wrap-up. Let's start with the videos I uploaded that were not reviews. And that was basically my goals check-in for Q1. I'm doing quite well on the goals I have, although I'm getting tired of reading sequels. So yeah, going to see less of that probably for the next quarter. But other than that, I'm quite happy with my reading this year, and I changed a little bit in my life goals, but for more details, go watch that video. And I also uploaded a letter to April, of course, and thank you very much for enjoying all the flowery content. I was very lucky to catch all of that footage on one sunny day. Yes, it was one sunny day that I caught all that footage on. That tells you how April looked here. Anyways, let's move on to the books. I read quite a lot, but I don't really have that much to talk about. So let's start with the series I finished and uploaded videos for. That's basically the Shades of Magic series. I finished book 2 and book 3 in April. I also uploaded a full review of the series. Book 1 I read years ago, and you could read that as standalone, whereas book 2 and 3 I would put as one story because book 2 ends on a cliffhanger. The characters are all similar to the ones in book 1, but the story has a little bit of a different shift, and book 2 and 3 basically tell one story. Overall, I think it's a wonderful fantasy series with some fun ideas, with nice magic system, and super fascinating characters. Really evil characters in the first book. In the second and third, the evil villain, I didn't find him that villainous. And also the story that was going on, it was kind of captivating, but at some points it dragged and I wasn't all sucked into it. But I can highly recommend it to anyone who's interested in a good fantasy series, and with a trilogy it's rather short. Another book I put up a review for is Goodbye Vitamin. And this is a story of a young woman moving back home for 1 year to help out her mother with her father's progressing Alzheimer's disease. And I really enjoyed how this book was written, as it was jumping back and forth between the present and events in the past. It was focusing on memory, it was focusing on relationships, on friendships, on the family, on her fiancé breaking up with her about a few months earlier, and how that is going, how the father is dealing with the Alzheimer's, and how the family is dealing with that. And I enjoyed that it was short snippets of events and not an ongoing long prose text, because first of all, I always like this kind of back and forth nonlinear storytelling, but especially right now I find it very pleasing to finish a paragraph or a chapter very fast, because I have less attention span and mind space to read, so that was very good. I also enjoyed the writing very much and thought this book was very compelling, and I can highly recommend it. Another book that falls in this line of writing is All My Goodbyes. This is more or less the story of a young woman running away from Argentina to Europe for 10 years to deal with things and not settle down and not commit to anything. It's also told in back and forth, not linear narration between different relationships, between different events and happenings in different places and cities, and jobs that she had and relationships that she had, all coming back 10 years later to the present. And I must admit, this book suffered a little bit from me going back to work. I read the first half while I was still on vacation, and I loved the writing, I loved the characters, I loved the back and forth, the actually not knowing where this book wanted to go and what it was really about. But then the second half I read when I had to go back to work, and I only read a page a day or so, maybe 2, and I lost the context a little bit. So by the end, I'm not really sure I completely understood what the book wanted to say. But I really loved the writing, I loved the restlessness of the character, the way she felt like she had to go, like from one moment to the next, everything was too much and she felt cornered in and she just had to leave. So like I said, this book looks at different relationships and different characters, different events in her life. It's about 10 years of running away and not committing, and it was very fascinating. I can highly recommend it. Transitioning from ebooks to audiobooks now, we have the Murderbot Diaries. There was a short story, Home, and Fugitive, Telemetry, a short novella that was published in the Murderbot Diaries series, and they are set after the fourth novella, before the novel Network Effect. So I read Home, the short story, as an ebook and listened to Fugitive Telemetry on audio. And these two stories are basically events that happen on Preservation Station. There are filler content a little bit, telling us more about the relationship between the characters and Murderbot trying to integrate into this new life that he has there. As it's in the middle of the series, it's a lot of spoiler content if I talk too much about it, but I can highly recommend it. And after finishing Fugitive Telemetry, I went ahead and listened to Network Effect again. If you don't know what the Murderbot Diaries are, you are probably new here. Hello. But Murderbot is a SecUnit human bot construct who destroyed his governing module, which is basically a part in its brain where the owner or the company that used to own him could fry his brain and punish it. Murderbot destroyed it, and the series is all about it trying to find out what it wants, making friends, and doing its job as a security unit, which is protecting its humans. And it's fun. I highly enjoy it. If you haven't started on the Murderbot hype, go ahead and do so. I also listened to another sequel in the Dresden Files, White Knight, which is book 9, and I highly enjoyed this. I don't really know what happened, but the books, after having a lull, seem to get better again, which is good because I think there are 17 and I need to catch up. So that's going to happen for the rest of the year, probably, hopefully. I also listened to Hood Feminism, a non-fiction book about the women feminism forgot. And I was kind of confused by going into it. I expected it to be essays about different people from different stations or situations or different backgrounds. But it was all told by the author, and it addressed different categories or sections in the female world which feminism has forgotten. This sounds really awful, but it's basically a book that looks at marginalized and poorer communities, and especially the women in that communities, what their needs are and what feminism doesn't provide or even consider they need. So it puts all the problems that marginalized communities have and connects them to feminism. I thought that was very interesting. It was also very well done in addressing the problems. It's very America focused, but it's relatable content to other countries as well. And if you're familiar with the marginalized communities or problems in your country, you can relate the feminist approach that is necessary there. I highly recommend this. The rest of the audiobooks were rather short and I don't have much to say about them. I listened to an adaptation by Alice in Wonderland. It's about 2 hours, so I could listen to it on a longer walk and it was very enjoyable. Then I listened to 3 audio plays or plays that were adapted in an audio form. 2 by Bertolt Brecht, which were the 3 penny opera, and The Good Person of Sezuan, I think is the English title. And I really enjoyed the 3 penny opera. It was a reread for me, sort of. I've seen the play, I've seen the movie, I've been familiar with the content and the story. The Good Person of Sezuan, I think I could have improved from a discussion class on that, because it's a parable on good behavior and there was more to it than I could get out of it. The play wasn't that good to listen to, so I don't know if I would recommend that. The last play I listened to was Waiting for Godot, and this is sort of a reread. I remember having read it in school or talked about it in school. I don't remember what we talked about it, and I've been out of school for over 25 years now, so yeah. I liked the adaptation. I can recommend listening to this. It was very well done, but going into it without much discussion, I think I enjoyed it, but I didn't really think about it. Yeah, I was in the mood for audio plays this month, so not really in the think it over, but just listen to something and have people tell you stories. And it was fun. It was good for that. And that was my April. Like I said, a lot of books, but not much to talk about. Let me know in comments how your April reading was. Did you have something good on your list? Did you achieve what you wanted to achieve in your reading this month? Let's talk April. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.